Okay, so let's get started on how to factor quadratic expressions. Okay, so let's look at our first example. We have x squared plus 3x plus 2, and we want to factor the quadratic expression, okay? So this whole thing is a quadratic expression, and we want to factor it. Well, in order to factor it, first we need to factor this last number that we see here. So I'm going to take this number and I'm going to pull it out. By the way, if you need to refresh your memory on how to factor a number, I have a video on that already, so I am not going to go into detail. I will leave that video down below in the description. Okay, so we have 1 and 2. Okay, so now we're going to add 1 and 2 together. Okay, so I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to add 1 and 2. So 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So now that we have the number here out to the side, we want to check to make sure the number is equal to the middle number, okay? So yes, it in fact equals the middle number, so that gives us the okay to allow us to use these two numbers here in the middle. Okay, now we're going to do some more examples. I know it's a little bit much to take in, so just watch through all of the examples. So we're going to use the number 1 and we're going to use the number 2. Okay, so we're going to use x plus 1 and x plus 2. Okay, so that is how we factor a quadratic expression, and this is your answer here. Okay. Okay, so now let us look at our next example. We have x squared minus x minus 2, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is, now we know that when we factor, it's going to look something like this. A number is going to be here, and a number is going to be here. We don't know what that number is yet, okay? Okay, so we don't know what the number is yet. That's what we have to figure out. So I'm going to take my 2 and I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to factor my 2. What are all the different ways? Actually, it's a negative 2, right? Okay, so what are all the different ways we can write a negative 2? Well, we know that negative 1 and 2 is a negative 2, right? Because negative 1 times a positive 2 is a negative 2. We also know that a positive 1 and a negative 2 factors into a negative 2, because a positive 1 and a negative 2 gives you a negative 2. So now we want to pull the numbers out to the side and add them together. So negative 1 plus 2 is equal to a positive 1. We also see that 1 minus 2 gives us a negative 1. We check to see which one of these numbers equal our middle number. By the way, when you see a negative x by itself, that is understood to be a negative 1. So it's like an imaginary 1 here, right? Okay, so that's understood to be a negative 1, okay? It's the same thing. So now we want to look and see, sure enough, that it is this number that gives us the negative 1, okay? It is adding 1 and negative 2 together. Therefore, we are going to say that we're going to choose these numbers, okay? We're choosing these numbers, 1 and negative 2, to put into our binomials here, okay? So, therefore, I can go ahead and erase the question mark, and we know that we're going to put a positive 1 and a negative 2 here, okay? And you can check going backwards. I did another video on how to multiply binomials together. I will leave that video link down below in the description, where you start off here and you end here. So it's a good way to know both ways, okay? So you can check your answer. Okay, so let's move on. Practice helps you to understand this a lot better. Okay, so we have x squared minus 5x plus 6. I'm going to take the 6, pull it out, and I'm going to factor. Okay, so 6. Well, we know that 1 and 6 is a factor. We also know that 2 and 3 is a factor. And we also know that -2 and a -3 is a factor. Okay, because -2 times a -3 gives us a +6. So you can play around with negative numbers. There's more ways to factor. I could have done a -1 and a -6, but for now, I already see our answer. So I'm going to stop with this, and just so you can see all the different ways. 1 plus 6, let's see, 1 plus 6 is equal to 7. We know that that does not equal our middle number. And we also have 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3 is equal to a +5. Well, it doesn't equal our middle number because our middle number is a -5. And so now we have a -2 minus a 3 is equal to a -5. Yes, well, we have a -5 in the middle, right? It is equal to our middle number. Therefore, I am going to use -2 and -3. And so I'm going to take x minus 2 and x minus 3. Okay, so that is how you factor x squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, our last example here is x squared plus 10x plus 21. I'm going to take 21 and I'm going to write it out. And we know that 1 and 21 is a factor, and we also know that 3 and 7 is a factor. I think we can stop there because right away I can see that if I add 3 and 7 together, 3 plus 7 is equal to 10. Sorry if that's a little small. That's 3 plus 7 is equal to 10. And I'm going to circle the 10 and show you that, yes, it indeed equals our middle number. So now we know what set of numbers that we need to have, and that's going to be x plus 3 and x plus 7. And so that is how you factor quadratic expressions.